Would you believe me if I said it's possible to launch a YouTube channel for a personal brand and grow from 0 to 120,000 views and 3,800 subscribers in just under 41 days, doing exactly the opposite of what social media gurus are saying, running up almost 9,000 hours of watch time with only 5 videos uploaded, no ads, no clip farming, and no crazy algorithm hacks, just strongly positioned organic storytelling designed to resonate with the right audience. My name is David, and my team and I are the creative engine behind personal brands of online entrepreneurs who understand that content is leverage. And in today's video, I'm breaking down the exact principles we use to craft stories that make people stop scrolling, listen, and act. So grab a pen, because what's inside this video can save you years of trial and error that we already did in trying to get people to listen to your message. Without further ado, let's get it. As an online entrepreneur, you already understand that content is leverage. Ideas communicated in the right medium can position you in a completely different league. However, there's a hidden reason why most personal brands never reach that point. And I learned this in a way that completely changed the way I see storytelling. Before building BrandFlow, I spent 6 years as a full-time videographer. I was obsessed with making beautiful work with the perfect skin tones and color grades, insane transitions, and just the right pacing. And I genuinely believed that if something looked exceptional, it would speak for itself in its performance. But over time, I started noticing that something was off. Some of the videos I was most proud of and had dedicated my life to for a couple of days didn't seem to perform. And sometimes the ones that looked simpler outperformed everything. That contradiction forced me to question everything I knew about storytelling, because clearly, quality alone was not the answer. And if you're an online entrepreneur, you've probably felt this yourself. You sit down to record a video. You talk about something that has changed your life, something you know could help others. You post it, but nothing happens. So you start questioning everything. Do I need better editing? Do I need a better hook? Do I need better thumbnails? But even when those improve, something is still off, because the real problem may not be in how clearly you're speaking. It may be in where you're speaking from. As humans, we tend to naturally speak from our own perspective instead of from the world of the person that we are trying to speak to. When that happens, even great ideas feel distant at best, not because they lack value, but because they lack resonance. That's why instead of speaking about a target audience, we speak about an ICP, an ideal customer persona. Use this to narrow down your message as if you're speaking to one person at a time. And you are. Your audience should feel individually spoken to. Now, every ICP speaks a psychological dialect. They're characterized by shared frustrations, shared enemies, assumptions, jokes, dreams, or blind spots. When you speak in your own dialect, your message can sound foreign. But when speaking in the dialect of the person you're trying to reach, they suddenly feel, wow, I feel understood. He or she gets me. Good storytellers map out the world of their ICP and translate their message into their dialect. But great storytellers don't stop there. They expand their voice by anchoring their viewpoints against famous ideas, polarizing opinions, and cultural narratives, positioning themselves in contrast to popularly known and respected or infamous voices. And meaning is created in contrast. That's why what you stand for becomes unmistakably clear if you show what you do not stand for. And to be very honest, in today's online landscape, a strong viewpoint that is clearly defined by its positives and negatives, by its statements and opposites, is needed for a new viewer to truly distinguish you from everyone else. So for this case, we took strong viewpoints, translated our message into the dialect of the ICP, and anchored those views against commonly known narratives. And it shows, because in 1 month, we reached over 85,000 individual viewers. Keep in mind, starting from 0, adding to almost 9,000 hours of watch time with 5 videos uploaded. If that still sounds a bit high in the sky, what that means is that new audiences didn't just click, they stayed to watch, engage with videos, subscribe, and even following up to watch multiple videos. Trust is only built through consistent positive experiences. However, relevance alone isn't enough. As we studied online attention, we noticed that structure drives retention. Just like a song has a structure to it. It has an intro, a verse, a chorus, another verse, then another chorus, and it enables you to bounce to the beat, to get to know the lyrics, and to resonate with the energy. If the song was just freestyle and didn't have any structure to it, it would be much harder to resonate with a lot of people. And viewer retention drives distribution. It's one of the most important metrics whether YouTube pushes out your video to more people or not. Social media platforms are free for a reason. They are selling your attention. And so the longer you stay, the more ads they can show you, the more they can charge companies to advertise. But how do you make a viewer stick around just like a chorus does in a song? We all know that a solid personal brand can change our business and life. But if what you post doesn't land with anyone, it tends to feel like wasted, valuable time that you could have spent elsewhere. Now, I'm not talking about a one-size-fits-all formula. It's about understanding the psychological order in which trust forms. Not just jumping from information to conclusion, but using a three-step framework to guide the viewer through an emotional progression. This simple structure is one we've seen work over and over and over again, as well as in this recent case. Firstly is the setup. This is where you invite the viewer into something that feels familiar, not by teaching them, but by showing them. You use a story, an analogy, a moment, or an observation, something that makes the viewer feel, yes, I know this, taking into account the dialect of the ICP you're speaking to. For example, good content means turning noise into music. You're creating a frame their brain can step into. This activates curiosity without triggering skepticism. Because as humans, we are natural storytellers, and so stories bypass our analytical filter. When done right, they don't feel like persuasion, but rather like an insightful perspective from someone that speaks your language. Secondly is the frustration. This is where you connect that analogy directly to their lived experience. So you highlight the struggle, the confusion, and the gap between their effort and their desired result. This is crucial because problems create tension. When done right, this creates emotional investment. Now they're no longer just watching your content, they're watching their problem be understood. And when someone feels understood, they stay. Now thirdly is the payoff. This is where we release the tension by revealing a truth that reorganizes their understanding, because you gave them language for something that they were not able to explain themselves. And that clarity builds authority instantly, because now using this sequence of emotion, you gave language to something that they felt but didn't have the words to explain. And this is where trust begins. Now, to summarize, the setup creates openness, the frustration creates tension, and the payoff creates trust. And trust is what makes someone keep watching. Using this sequence is what pulls your viewer in and forces them to stay engaged with your message. Now, in our recent case, because these videos were so intentionally sequenced and scripted, it allowed us to hit the metrics that we did, launching from 0 to 120,000 views in 41 days, from 0 to 3,800 new subscribers, and launching from nothing to almost 9,000 hours of watch time. How do you make this formula repeatable? Early on in our agency, we listened too much to the online social media gurus saying what algorithms liked or didn't like, what worked and what didn't work, etc. And to be honest, the results were underwhelming. We found our focus on something way more impactful. We started doubling down on creating repeatable formats that leverage the personal brand's unique strengths while leaning into the ICP needs. Because here's the thing, when you sit down to create a new video from scratch every single time, it's like you're reinventing the wheel, and it honestly kills your leverage. And so when you don't have a solid system for creation and ideation in place, there's huge constant friction in the feedback loop, in learning from your own process, and it's very hard to gain momentum. And so with that, here is the third ingredient. You've obviously heard about content formats, but let's dive a little deeper into how we can actually use this in our advantage. Because the personal brands that grow the fastest aren't reinventing themselves every time they post. They've built something repeatable. However, not rigid or predictable, but recognizable. The most successful personal brand formats live within these two elements. Firstly, their unique personal leverage, boiling down to the only unique way in which they see the world. And secondly, a clearly defined ICP and a deep understanding of their needs, pains, and desires. That overlap is what we call the sweet spot. And formats are what allow you to operate inside that sweet spot over and over and over again. Within that sweet spot, you're enabled to formulate your message in unique ways and repeat and repackage your message. They enable you to compound your skill because every time you create, you're not just starting from scratch, you're refining something. And with that, they let your team plug into your way of thinking instead of guessing from a new perspective every single time. And they allow you to repackage your depth in unique ways without losing their powerful essence. The crazy thing is now you're not just posting videos, you're building a system. And when building that system, we like to think of format creation and implementation as the Netflix model. Netflix doesn't rely on one-off hits. They build series, and those series have seasons, and those seasons have episodes. And so each episode is different from one another, but they're all part of something bigger. And that's what formats allow you to build. Not just isolated content, but a body of work that people come back to. Stop thinking of formats as templates because they are the highest leverage to pull when it comes to building your online personal brand. It enables you to design exactly how to structure your message so your audience stays engaged and where your personal voice can shine while hitting your business objectives. And so this recent case used only one winning format that leaned into the unique leverage of the personal brand, overlapping with our ICP. And so to summarize, let's combine all three. Firstly, cultural relevance, speaking the dialect of your ICP and anchoring your voice against what they already believe. Secondly, pacing and rhythm, guiding attention second by second so viewers stay to absorb your message. And thirdly, personal leverage through format, turning your unique perspective and expertise into repeatable, high leverage content. With understanding these key principles, the shift is profound. You go from, I hope that this lands, to I know that this will land because every single element is intentionally designed for engagement, resonance, and impact with my specific ICP. So if storytelling has ever felt confusing to you, it's not because you don't have one. It's because you were never shown the system behind it. And so rethink how you approach content, not just as individual random videos, but as intentional strategic experiences for your audience. When you do this, everything compounds. Your audience grows faster, your content builds leverage, and your personal brand becomes a creative engine driving business impact. So if you're looking for a growth partner to help you grow your personal brand to the next level, feel free to check out the description and book a call with me or my team to see how we can help you further. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao!